All right. Well, welcome to our regular Wednesday posting. And this week we are taking up the somewhat abstract term phenomenology, and the adjective form of that is phenomenological that I do use in the book. So here it is. Phenomenology is the study of being as it appears or is revealed to consciousness, and has given rise to an important philosophical tradition, especially in 20th century Western Europe, but also in the United States. The work of Husserl, Heidegger, Sartre, Merleau-Ponty, and many others is associated with this tradition. And all of these writers make use of a method in their thought that tries to use no preconceived abstractions in describing phenomena in the world, thus phenomenology, including consciousness, but simply to describe experience itself. My description of the perfect other above or last week in these videos is an example of a phenomenological description, in that it relies solely on describing the actual experience of not being seen as I am in my being, but only as I am an image for the other, cast onto an experiential outside of my being. This book as a whole is a phenomenology of social being, a description of our interhuman reality as it appears and is revealed to our consciousness. One could say that phenomenology is a kind of reliving that goes alongside our lived experience while taking an X-ray of it. So reliving in our imagination the experience of, let's say, inflating our image, and then trying to capture a snapshot of it and re-describe it so in a way that illuminates it to ourselves and you as the reader or listener. So if we just briefly discuss this, let's take this example that I gave last Wednesday of the perfect other. What I was saying there is that if you are seen primarily in terms of images that are cast onto you, like you remember the school child who was raising his hand last week, I know the answer, I'm a good student. If you're caught up in that image of yourself, it feels like it's actually on your outside, not the same as your clothes, but in a spiritual sense, that you're kind of trapped in the way that you're seen rather than being seen for who you really are. And that feeling of being trapped in the way that you're seen as an image on the outside of you, that feels like it's on the outside of you, that because it isn't really you, you constantly try, you know something's missing, and so you're constantly trying to make it better, even perfect, the perfect good student. I will be that's a part of the whole absence of being that's at the heart of being seen as an image. You're out there trying to be the way that you're seen, but it's not connecting with who you actually are deep down as a presence in the world, as a true presence in the world. And like the schoolboy I've been this boy, raising your hand, trying to be seen and recognized and be a better and better student in that way of being an image of the student for the teacher. There's so many examples of that effort to become a perfect other by inflating the outer self. Bodybuilders, a bodybuilder, I'm building myself up. This outside of me is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and eventually will be perfect. I will have the perfect body. Of course, that never happens. You never have the perfect body because that's a that's an imaginary notion that you're trying to. Then I would be fully there if I had the perfect body, is what's in the bodybuilder's imagination. But that's not actually something that can satisfy or ground your being with the other. Only a true encounter with the other can do that. So no matter how perfect your body is, you're still separated from this image that you are inflating and constructing. It isn't anchored in you. The same is true of people of putting on, being too preoccupied with makeup, where you're trying to just get it right so that your face, of course, this is the bodybuilders, more the man, although not exclusively. The makeup is more a woman trying to make her face look perfect for the other. And that face can never be perfect for the other because it lacks being. It has an absence of being within it. So what's phenomenological about that, what I just said, is that I'm describing something. Just what proof do I have? None that I'm describing correctly. It's an appeal to you, listener, reader. It's an appeal to you to say, doesn't this capture the experience of what it's like to be seen in terms of an image? What do you think? Here's my description of it. That is phenomenology. It's using a method that tries to capture what something feels like, so as to get to its relationship to being itself. So it's really being caught in an image that feels like it's outside of you and just the way somebody else sees you that you're trying to match up to. Actually, that's an absence of being in the way that you experience it, because the you, that is truly present in the world here, is not that image that you're trying to become, that you have to try to become in a world where we all become the way we are recognized by others. So that's what phenomenology means. It's trying to capture experience, the experience of life as we really do experience it, and illuminate it for the listener or reader. So the work of this book that I wrote, the work is, if you're doing phenomenology, is not to convince somebody by arguments, but rather to illuminate experience in a way that it wasn't previously seen, to illuminate experience so that the listener or reader, you, dear listener, feel that's it. That is what it feels like. That helps me. I now have a new knowledge about something that I was already participating in. It's illuminated. And that kind of illumination is what the whole aim of the book is. Not to convince anybody by arguments, but to illuminate experience so that it can produce a reaction of, aha, or that's not quite right, but it's close, or something like that, that we together, me as the person talking and you as the person listening, can get closer to what experience really feels like and how it is or is not grounded in our being and who we really are as presences in the world.